edition of the Armstrong Show from Baltimore, Maryland. As we look at the beautiful Baltimore Harbor, there's a story, there's a dark story that goes on in Baltimore that is rarely reported, underreported, and it's about kids who are homeless, find themselves in 4 or 5 different high schools before they graduate. Who takes care of them, provides for them, gives them leadership, and help them understand right from wrong? Who gives them hope for the future? We tell you the stories today about homeless kids. Homelessness is quite different from the way the federal government describes homelessness. You'll get to hear the kids, you'll get to hear their caretakers and those that are trying to make a difference in their lives on this very special edition of the Armstrong Show. Join us, take a seat as I take my seat for this amazing, provocative, once in a lifetime, rarely seen and heard conversations as you will hear today on this edition of the Armstrong Show. Well, Ryan Finney, welcome to the broadcast. But talk about these kids in the early years of their lives and what happens to get them to a place where they become homeless, displaced, given up on, become just a number and a click, a money click for institutions, even the educational system.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And by the grace of God, that could be you, that could be me. These kids are coming up in Baltimore, some sections amidst trauma, whether it's a single family, single parent household, and they're just trying to survive. And when you're in survival mode, that survival mode really starts at 10, 11, 12. And you're trying to figure out, one, how do I get to school? If I'm in the home with one parent or no parent at all at the particular time, how do I eat? How do I have shelter? How do I have electricity? So from a young age, these folks are really surviving in a manner that is not accustomed or the norm for most folks in society. And that's where you have to have some empathy, because if it was you or me thrust into one of those situations, how will we survive? And by the grace of God, we have been able to have resources and support systems. And that's what at Joy Baltimore, we're fortunate that whether we grab them at 14, 15, 16, that we can give them a wraparound system that can be getting them on the right track.
Obviously, parenting is very important. Church is important. Having an education to give people self-worth is important. Mentors are important. At what age do they really start getting off track? What contributes to this? And I'm sure you've seen kids early on that could have been on the same trajectory, but for some reason they were saved and rescued.
It is luck. It is faith. There is no easy shotgun answer. So I can, kids that grow up in Cherry Hill, if there was not the sports person at the recreation center who really took a liking or interest in that kid to make sure they were in school, if they needed toiletries, that kid could have went left, right? So it's a evolution of just a ton of things that plague not only Baltimore City, but our country, where folks are under-resourced. The education system is not really set up to provide a stable environment. And it's a totality of all of those things. And these kids, some have the endurance to get through and continue to move forward. It is really a crapshoot. And those kids that make it through are really soldiers, and I really applaud. And those that are falling through the cracks, it is our duty to try to catch as many as we can to give them the resources that they need.
So we decided to ask LaRon Finney to come back and join us. He had an opportunity to listen to what Lonnie Walker had to say. And I wanted to bring you back to talk about the programs you have in place. How do you respond? What you've heard? How are you giving people hope that you have systems in place in terms of the skills giving them stability? I mean, because I'm sure these kids are exposed to crime. You're talking about kids prostituting on poles, people stealing. How have you responded to this?
And I'm very proud of Lonnie. I need to say that. And whether he's out canvassing at night, because that's when you really see what the homeless population is. It's not from 3 to 6, it's really from 12 to 6 a.m. where these kids are populating the city. So he's canvassing their referrals, and what he does, he puts them through an accountability process. Not judging, not saying what they should be doing, but he's meeting these kids where they are, and he's giving them a roadmap of what it looks like to be successful. And it's not always about monetary success. It's about how do you respect yourself as a human being? How do you take accountability for where you are and pushing yourself forward? And exposing them to different parts of Baltimore. Like, this is Baltimore, where we're sitting right now. But if you look at the narrative across the media framework, Baltimore is not represented like this. So we're intentionally bringing 20 kids today to the Sagamore Pendry Hotel. They're going to have lunch. They're going to fill out housing applications to begin normalizing what expectations should be. And we're big proponents. When you walk out, typically your day starts in neutral. And how you move is either going to become positive or negative. And we become products of our expectations. And I think that's the lifeline that Lonnie has built with Joy Baltimore.
If those that are watching this show nationally and locally want to support what you're doing financially, how do they do so?
They go right to joybaltimore.org and they will see lists of all the programs. And I like to say strategies, because programs come and go. They're driven by dollars. I think Lonnie is driven by providing a roadmap for these kids. But joybaltimore.org has all the information, all the strategies and resources that we provide these kids. And again, it's about chasing opportunity for the kids. I think a lot of these nonprofits, quite frankly, we spoke about this earlier, are chasing dollars. They're not really chasing solutions for these kids. And I'm proud to say that's what Lonnie is doing with Joy Baltimore.
Well, Ron, thank you for joining us. Thank you for making this possible and setting an example of what we need to do to make a difference in a child's life.
Thank you for coming.
Let's start crossing now.
We're in one of Baltimore's most forgotten places, 30 seconds away from the water, literally. And this is a homeless colony. We're here during the day right now, and as you can see, it's empty. And that's why we chose to come here, because we don't want to interrupt their lives, because this is where they live. But this is not how we should live. And we have to do better, not only as a city, not only as a state, but we have to do better as a country, right? One of the things about Joy Baltimore is we try to capture young people before they get to this point. Before they get to the point where they've been living in an encampment for an extended period of time. We want to get them attached to services. We want to get them attached to resources. We want to understand their mental health state. We want to understand, are they connected with anybody or anything? And if they are connected with anybody or anything, we want to make that reconnection. And if we don't get a grip on this thing now, especially with our homeless youth population, Lord knows